I'm Elijah Jones, and this is Cardinals Corner on Arizona Sports.
Cardinals Corner from Arizona Sports.
Cardinals Corner from Arizona Sports with Tyler Drake and Lauren Koval.
What's going on, Bird Gang? Welcome back to another edition of Cardinals Corner. I'm Tyler Drake. That's Lauren Koval. We're back. I know it's been a little bit of a long time here, but training camp is demanding, and that's where we were at for most of it. Lauren, how are we doing today?
We're doing well. Training camp wrapped up for me yesterday, so it's been a little while since we've been together here. We've seen each other obviously down at training camp and on the field and hanging out and whatnot, but it's nice to be back in our little corner. Yes.
And you know what? I decided that today, since we're back in the studio for the first time in a long time, I'm going to bring some gifts. Thought we'd bring a couple gifts.
That's so thoughtful of you.
Yes. So how about you open yours first?
All right.
Let's see what we got here. So you might not be able to get Marvin Harrison Jr.'s jersey just yet, but at least we can get a sneak peek at his shoes that are coming out, or that are out, I should say. So look at that. The Prodigy from New Balance. Shout out to those guys for hooking it up.
Perfect. We got the first pair right here. I've got to say, very sleek, very cool design. Not too flashy for the rookie wide receiver, but just kind of what you would expect. A little understated, but looks very nice.
Okay, well, not as flashy. These ones might take the cake for flashy. We got the white ones too, so we definitely got to look at those too.
You got to see both.
You got to see both, and I got to say, if I'm picking one, got to go with the white ones, especially with the all white unis. That's gonna look pretty clean.
They'll look cool.
Definitely, yeah. New Balance Prodigy, super clean, super. I don't want to say simple, but just an easy, sleek look to them,
and a nice base for anything. Truly.
Yes. So when you're watching Marvin this year, even if you don't have that jersey, you can still go get the shoes, and you just watch him play in them. Because I think he's mostly worn black, I would say, throughout training camp. So we're still waiting to see him don the whites, but I'm sure once they throw on the white unis, these are breaking out. So
I'd imagine. He's got the black hoodie on under the jersey, too, at training camp. So
yeah. But yeah, shout out to New Balance. I'm glad we could actually check these out in person. We probably will be having some more regarding New Balance, regarding Marvin's shoes. So definitely stick around for that in the coming weeks. I will have more to tell you as it comes through. But yeah, I thought we'd kick it off with some cool little new props for the show.
Couldn't think of a better way to end training camp and introduce preseason football.
Yep, exactly.
All right, so let's jump right on in. We've both been out at training camp for the past few weeks, you every day, very diligently down at State Farm, taking care of everything you need to. So there's been some big news since the last time we hopped on this pod. Let's start with Zaven Collins sticking around for the Arizona Cardinals. What was your immediate thought when you heard that?
Immediate thought was, hey, they got a deal done, no drama. And I think everybody's on the same page, it sounds like. And let's be honest, it's a pretty good deal. It's a team-friendly deal. I think fifth-year option was around like $13 million. That didn't get picked up, but instead it's about a 7, if you want to go average, 7 a year. That's for 2 years. That's a great, in my opinion, a great deal for him to work up to. Obviously, he's taking that next step, second year as being a full-time pass rusher. Definitely need to see the production. But, Gannon even said today, it's not just about the sacks. It's about really everything he does inside the locker room, out in coverage, obviously rushing the passer. They want to see more production there. But, again, there's more than just rushing the passer in that room. I thought, it's one of those deals where he's been around and I don't want to say it didn't make, or I don't want to say it made sense, but I just think it was the right move right now. One less thing that both sides really have to deal with. They can go out there and play ball. I know Zaven, he really talked to us and had a lot of good things to say, how he's always been just be straight up with me, and that's how the organization has been. And he pretty much said, like, why would I want to bail now? I'm seeing the culture trend up. I'm seeing the team trend up, so why leave? And I think that was a great kind of that team first mentality you really saw come out during his press conference. And yeah, like I said, I think it's a good move for both sides. Got to see if he can really up his game, because I think there's some incentives in there if he gets some sacks that's going to bump it up a lot. So I'm interested to see how much more freer he's going to play now, knowing that that's kind of behind him.
It'll be interesting to see. And you said one less thing for Zaven to worry about. What also prompted this deal at this time could be the other bit of breaking news that we got out of Cardinals training camp, which was BJ Ojulari down with a torn ACL. He's out for the year. What do you think?
Brutal. I mean, he was a starting pass rusher for this team. He was taking so many steps forward. He was easily one of my standouts for training camp before he went down. Even Zaven, it impacted that whole unit. You could tell. Zaven said he was super emotional. You could tell other guys were very emotional. It just sucks because not only as a player was he taking that big step and really becoming his own person there, he was also off the field just a really good guy to talk to. Obviously, we'll see how much he can bounce back going into his rehab after surgery. That's going to happen. One thing, though, Gannon did say that they were trying to work that Zaven deal before BJ went down. Just coincidentally worked out, obviously. Who knows the real story there, but that is what was said. But yeah, just sucks. It really, if I can put one word on it, it sucks. It's just a really tough loss for a young player who a lot of people were expecting a lot of big things out of.
And he really came on during the second half of that season. Just a few podcasts ago, we were discussing his sack numbers and how he was going to possibly lead this pass rushing room that has garnered a lot of attention this offseason for maybe not being the strongest of rooms for the Arizona Cardinals, and that BJ really had the chance to be the leader of this team. So very sad that he won't be able to be out there. Very excited for Zaven that he now has an opportunity to sort of brush off the past, move forward, and see what he can do under this new system.
Yep.
You said that out down at training camp, BJ was truly looking like a standout to you on this team. Who else stood out to you at training camp?
There's a lot, and it was kind of came in waves. I'd say early on, Zay Jones really stood out to me. I felt like he was catching everything, and then he had to deal with a little, I'm not sure exactly what kind of injury or maybe just an off day, but dealt with that a little bit, so kind of fell off there. Michael Wilson was a guy who was consistent through and through. I think you could clearly tell he's taken a big step. You can tell the connection with him and Kyler has gone through the roof, so him throughout camp definitely was a big standout. And I'm going to stick with the wide receivers, Greg Dortch. I think we all kind of expected. Once he gets his opportunity, he's going to do something, and he very much is doing something. He looks so much more comfortable, and he's adding, it almost looks like he put on a little more muscle to really be that backfield threat too. He's getting a lot of these trick plays. He's coming out of the backfield. He's still got the return duties, which he very much wants to keep. So it's going to be interesting there to see how they use him. If he's got a big offensive game going, if they kind of maybe pull back a little bit on the return duties, maybe let DJ Dallas do some of that, because DJ was very much in the mix. Maybe if Xavier Weaver can hang on and stick around, maybe he's in that mix. But Greg Dortch definitely is, like I said, it's hard to say he's a standout when I think everybody kind of has seen this the last couple of years with the Cardinals. He just hasn't gotten a chance. There's nobody in front of him anymore, and you can seriously tell. It's noticeable how you can tell that there's just more confidence, and it's just the respect that he's getting from the team, which I don't think he necessarily had the last couple of years.
And last week we saw for the first time what the NFL's new kickoff rules are going to look like in the Hall of Fame game. It was weird to sort of look at for the first time. There's been so much talk about them. How do you think that these new rules, if any at all, have impacted what the Cardinals are going to do with Greg Dortch in the return game? Yeah,
I think they're working on different ways to make him effective, because like you said, like there's going to be a lot of different kicks. People are going to be kicking it off differently. It's going to look really weird. And even talking with Gannon on Friday, like he said, or on Thursday, he said that they're really going to toy with things throughout the games, throughout the whole preseason. It's just they're going to show some and they're going to keep some. And it looks like they're very much going to be creative, though, and kind of throwing out some different looks to see what sticks and what doesn't. I mean, Jeff Rogers, special teams coordinator, assistant head coach, said it's still very much trial and error. And I think it's going to be trial and error for weeks. I think until you get into the regular season and really start seeing kind of a trend from other teams even, and seeing what other people are picking up and maybe leaving on the floor, that's really going to give you a better idea of how much this is going to impact the game. But I think entering the regular season or entering preseason, it's going to be huge. I mean, I think points are going to be scored at a more frequent rate than they have, because there's going to be better field position for the offense.
And Greg Dortch is a guy who makes me excited about these new kickoff rules because he's so nimble and speedy and elusive. He's the kind of guy who you break past that first wave of guys, and then the field is really opened up for you. There aren't these people hanging out in the backfield. It's truly your kicker is your last guy, and if he gets you, he gets you. If he doesn't, he doesn't.
And as JG said, the look in his eye gives him confidence. And I think if you're a player and you can get that out of your head coach, that you're doing some things right.
You might have figured a few things out then. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure.
Let's jump to what everybody has their eye on, which is Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, yeah.
What have you seen from, I think it's fair at this point to say, rookie sensation, because you've posted a ton of videos all across social media of just showing his sheer catching abilities. What did you see down there?
And that's not just like pinpointing Marvin either. Like he's just getting the ball a lot. Like that, and that's one of the things. I think him and Kyler are connecting so, I mean, maybe even beyond what I thought they were going to be doing right away. It just looks easy and effortless for this dude, seamless. I mean, every play, it almost looks like he's just playing like backyard football. That's really what it looks like. I mean, he had a one-on-one with Sean Murphy Bunting on Wednesday, and it was not even close. I mean, burned him, did a move and was gone. And it just looks so easy. It looks like we could go out there and do it, but I know full well we could not go do it, at least to that level.
No.
So, yeah, and he's still the most humble dude out there. I think that's something that's really sticks out to me, is just everything we've heard about him. He's exactly that. When we had Paris sitting in here with us talking about him, he's got the work ethic that Paris talked about. I mean, I've seen him after practice working on the jugs machine still. I mean, exactly the stuff he was doing at Ohio State, he's doing at the NFL. And I think the funniest thing was, or the most interesting thing was when he said NFL training camp's easier than college camp. And I think a lot of that has to do with Gannon and the schedule tweaks for health and nutrition things. But I think that just shows you how ready this dude is to go. And he wants to play preseason ball. He's going to play on Saturday. From everything that Gannon told us, he's going to play Saturday. What does that look like? We don't know. But at least he's going to get out there and play. And he's told Wolf and Luke, he's told us, he wants to play in the preseason because, he just wants the reps. He even said college should have a preseason.
Kyler Murray won't be out on the field for preseason for any of the games. JG announced just a few days ago, so we'll see Marvin catching the ball from either Desmond Ridder or Clayton Tune, which is a very closely watched battle. But I do have to say, there's something that nearly every player that we talked to down at training camp talked about, and I'm not sure that just the casual Cardinals fan would have any knowledge of this. Kyler Murray invited a large group of players to UCLA during the offseason. And this was training camp was sort of the first insight into what exactly happened there, what went down for players. Can you give just sort of a brief overview of what happened there? Yeah,
I mean, basically it sounds like Kyler took everybody to Los Angeles. They did some workouts at UCLA, and really it was just a bonding experience with a lot of the offense. I mean, I think most of the skill players were there. I think 12, 13, 14 guys. And sounds like Kyler put everybody up with rooms, with food, with everything you could possibly think of. So definitely for everybody that has questioned Kyler's leadership, I think this was a huge step of erasing any of that doubt. And everybody that talked about it, they said how important it was, not just getting the work in, not getting the extra reps in, but actually spending time with the quarterback and spending time with one another and getting to know each other on a more personal level than just going out there and throwing the ball with each other. So huge. I think it doesn't get as much recognition as it probably deserves because, it's off-season work. Who cares? Like, they're doing their own thing. But I think at the end of the day, we're seeing this training camp kind of meshing. And I think a lot of that, at least on the offensive side, and a lot of that has to do, I think, with him getting these guys out there. I mean, I think he also had like Trey McBride. I think he had Tip. I think he had Elijah Higgins. So like, wasn't just wide receivers either. It was a lot of other guys too, running backs. So got to give a shout out to Kyler because that's what you want out of your franchise quarterback. I mean, you can't dog what he did at all for those guys.
No, and you had talked about the fact that you've seen a strong connection already from Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson heading into his second year now. And I know that they were both attendees at this UCLA camp that Kyler threw. So you've got to think that had a great impact on, hey, yes, we're in training camp now, but we're already building these fundamentals in our relationship at this point.
Well, yeah, and Michael Wilson even said, like, he made it a priority to stay in the Valley and make sure he was getting extra reps with Kyler when he could have gone back and hung out with his fiance or done other things, had a vacation. Instead, he stuck around, made sure he got those extra Saturday workouts, and I think at like Saguaro or somewhere, Saguaro High School, and made sure that he was better connected with Kyler going into camp. And like I said, he was one of the most consistent dudes out there, and you could very much see that just chemistry and bond really take a next jump from what it was last year.
And Michael Wilson was the ping pong champion, I've heard, of that UCLA camp. He bragged not so subtly about it before he joined Burns and Gambo.
Okay.
So we'll put that out there. Also, on another note, congratulations to his fiance. He talks so openly and so lovingly about her, but she's got the gold medal match coming up on Saturday. So
yes, and
fingers crossed.
He very much is. I think they have a walkthrough right around the time it starts, but he's like, yeah, I'm going to try to see if I can have my phone on me. So I'm sure he'll be getting updates if he doesn't get that. But yeah, shout out to Team USA. Hopefully get it done. That'd be great.
That would be very fun. I've been watching this women's team very closely. And speaking of matchups to watch, now that training camp is over, which room or players or groups of players do you sort of have still question marks about, or maybe even cemented themselves, you're less worried about something now?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I'll be looking at battles for preseason, and I think it starts with QB2 because we know Kyler is not going to be playing in the preseason, so we definitely know two people are. Like, they're going to each get their shot to show what they can do. If I had to go and give a prediction early on, though, I think Tune's in the lead. I think Tune has really, I think both started out a little rusty. I think Tune towards the back half of training camp really came into his own and started getting a lot more consistent. And I think the big thing is he wasn't turning the ball over like Ritter was. I think that's the big thing to watch, is who can have the better ball security. And I think Tune was impressing me a little bit on his run game too. Obviously, they used him in short yardage last year. I think they still believe that he can be that guy. But yeah, competition is very much still going on. But right now, I got to give it to Tune. Going to RB2, I think this one's very interesting because you've got, coming into camp, it was Michael Carter versus Trey Benson. I think we all thought that. And
then the Cardinals' first depth chart came out, and that drew a lot of attention in my mind, a lot of question marks surrounding that RB2 position.
Yes, because Michael Carter was listed as RB5.
Yes.
And obviously Gannon said don't put too much stock in the depth chart. It's going to change. But obviously there's a depth chart out there for a reason. Like you don't have to tell a guy to do something. You could show him a depth chart and they could probably get an idea of what they need to do. But yeah, RB2 now, it looks like it's Trey Benson versus Amari DeMercado. And Amari DeMercado has been another standout that we got to give a shout out to because he was getting a lot of the first team reps behind Connor when Connor would get subbed out, and especially his pass protection looks like it's taken another step, and that's been really big in his growth. I mean, that's why he got on the field last year. And then you've got just his ability as a runner. I mean, Gannon said he saw him in February and called him Pudgy.
Yes.
And DeMercado was coming back from a Hawaiian vacation, which it sounded like that was like one of his first vacations he's had in a long time. And called him Pudgy, and DeMercado took that and went right back to work and came in, and as Gannon said, he's rocked up and he looks a lot more in shape. Not saying he wasn't last year, but from what Gannon saw, he's very much in shape and looks like he's ready to take that next step as kind of that third down, maybe fourth down back if they need him, but he's also very much in that conversation for RB2. Benson, on the other hand, has been mostly second team, third team. So either they're just wanting to keep him kind of under wraps a little bit, or maybe he's just got to still show some things. Maybe pass pro something he's got to improve on. I think preseason is going to give us a good idea of maybe who's going to either take the reins or who is ahead of the other guy right now. But I think I still got to give, I think Benson might have the edge there. And I think another part of this is DeMercado has got a little shoulder issue that Gannon said is not serious, but he didn't practice on Thursday, so it'll be something to watch for sure.
Hasn't been out on the field in just a few days, so we'll see how that shoulder injury comes along. I think a lot of people tend to just breeze past the fact that Trey Benson's still a rookie. And we were immediately assuming he would come in and be RB2. So we'll see how that shapes out during the preseason. He looks great. I will say Benson looks great out on the field. A bigger guy than I imagined he was physically. A bigger guy coming in as a rookie. So something to keep your eye on as we near closer to regular season. I know that there's been a lot of questions heading into training camp about the cornerback room. What do you learn about that?
Oh, yeah. So cornerback, I think 2 spots are filled. Sean Murphy-Bunting is probably going to enter the year as CB1, at least a starting role.
Do you have any hesitations about that? Because he's taken on this leadership role, and I know we've had Max and Elijah sit in here and say, he's the guy that we want. He's the leader of this room. He still has never played for a snap for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah. So so neither has Max though either. And, and that's why, that's why I said for now he's CB1. I think that's how it's going to go, and I think this is still going to be a competition throughout the regular season. I really think it's going to be a game by game basis. So Garrett Williams, nickel, can go play outside too. He has to start. I think, in my opinion, he might be the most versatile and might be the most talented cornerback on the team. So Sean Murphy-Bunting on the outside, you've got him in the nickel. That leaves one more spot. Right now, I got to say it's between Max Melton and Starling Thomas. I think Keitrell Clark could maybe squeeze in there too, but I think right now for me it's Melton and then Thomas. And both have gotten a lot of first-team reps. Thomas is coming off of a pretty good practice the other day. He had a pass deflection on Michael Wilson that would have been a would-be touchdown, so that was a really good play there. But Melton, you got to look at what they paid for him.
Yeah.
They didn't use a second-round pick for him not to play. So I think Starling is very much, he's been another standout. And Melton, I wouldn't say standout, but he's been really good too. I would say Thomas is definitely in that standout range just because how much more he's getting thrown in the fire a little bit with this first team. I think entering preseason, I think it's a pretty close battle, but I think at the end of the day, I think Melton's going to show enough to squeak into that starting lineup. But I do think Starling is going to play a lot, have a lot of meaningful roles. And like I said, it's a week-by-week basis. It could change every week, but right now I think that's kind of your core 4, I would say, is you've got Sean Murphy-Bunting, Garrett Williams, Max Melton, Starling Thomas, and then I think Keitrell probably is right there close to the mix too, but I think 4 for there that's how I've got it kind of shaken out right now.
And Wednesday at training camp, Max Melton was in his street clothes and didn't participate in practice. Anything to be worried about there?
No, he was back practicing Thursday, so that was a good sign. We'll see if that impacts how much he plays in the first preseason game. Maybe Gannon wants to kind of lighten the load for him, or who knows. We still don't really know who exactly is going to play and who doesn't. We know Kyler's not. We know Marvin is, so those are 2 big ones. But beyond that, it's kind of a toss-up of how much these guys are going to get and how they're going to fit in with other guys that maybe they necessarily haven't played as much with. So it'll be interesting on that side of things.
And that first preseason game for the Arizona Cardinals is this Saturday at State Farm Stadium against the Saints. But the following week, you're going on a little trip.
Yes, I will be heading to Indianapolis on Tuesday. Be helping out with Wolf and Luke a little bit there, helping Wolf get on the air. Make sure I've got him on his P's and Q's, so that'll be a fun time.
That's a tough job for anyone. So good luck.
Gotta hit up Aaron Maloney to get the tips and tricks there. But yeah, then we'll be there for joint practice Wednesday and Thursday, I believe, and then we've got the game Saturday. So it'll be a fun time. I've always actually wanted to check out Indianapolis. Go to, I think it's still Lucas Oil Field, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
So that'll be cool. I've always liked how that's just looked on TV and just the outside of it. So really excited. It's going to be a really fun time. So definitely going to have the content coming for everybody. It's going to be new. It's going to be a different experience. So not exactly sure how everything's going to look, but it's going to be good. It's going to definitely be a good time for sure.
Yeah, and you'll be checking in live from the shows as that happens, still creating content while you're out there in Indy. So be able to check in with you whenever. So check out ArizonaSports.com for that. Tyler, you got anything else to add?
No, I think let's give you one more position battle. Tight end 2.
Tight end 2. Okay.
Elijah Higgins versus Tip Ryman. It's a closer battle than I think people are giving it credit for. I think Elijah really has come into his own, especially making that transition from wide receiver to tight end. And a lot of people have said a lot of good things about him. He's been another standout just with his ball skills. Looks like he's taking that next step as a blocker too. And obviously we know Tip. The name of the game is put people on the ground. I think if he can show a little more pass catching ability in this preseason, that's only going to elevate him more into a more prominent role. But also, I'm not going to be surprised with all three, those two guys and Trey McBride are out there from time to time because this team wants to run the ball. Plain and simple.
And they're leaning a little bit more into 12 personnel, it seems, this offseason than people originally thought. So that opens the door for one of them to move on in.
Yep. Well, all right. With that, we will be back probably next week, depending on what happens over in Indy. If not, we'll be back right after that. But be sure to keep it locked on the Arizona Sports app, 98.7 and ArizonaSports.com. You can follow me at TDrake for Sports. You can follow Lauren at Koval_Lauren.
Nailed it.
On all the social medias. Don't look at the video because I was looking up trying to figure that out. But yeah, we will make sure to be bringing you guys more content. Training camp's over, but the fun is just beginning. So like I said, be sure to follow along as we keep bringing you the good content. With that, we'll see you guys next time.